Hi guys, welcome back to the Wrestling GM Originals channel. We are back with an all new AC hybrid pay-per-view. I know I've been gone for quite some time. If you're new to the channel, please make the things happen so you can get notified every time I remember to come back. But yeah, man, we are back with the last pay-per-view of the year 2027. 2027 has been a very interesting year for AC, and yeah, man. I have to say this has to be I feel like my booking lately has been off the charts in terms of like unpredictability. And this is simply because I will sit on a plan and along the line I'm just like, you know what? Let's just hit the red button. Let's not be let's not do long-term storytelling. Let's just mess things up a bit. just for excitement's sake. So this has to be the most unpredictable best of the best pay-per-view, because I did my research and some of like the main events that we had in the past were certain, right? Troy Manning versus Jin Bao, this was one that we were working towards the previous year, and it was clear from the beginning, right? Even though it was shaky for a little bit, but we were clear that this is what we're going for. 2025, um, it was uncertain as well, but we knew that we would get something like this. Spencer Van Zandt, Troy Manning in the picture. Um, what happened? 2024 was how 2024 was a bit shaky, but we ran with whatever we ran with, and we're like, you know what, we locked. I feel like with most of the best that came before, we locked things um, media. We locked things in media and ran with that. With this one, we locked things from the beginning. I think with this main event that we got on this pay per view, we locked things on the previous year, in the previous year, and as we got closer, we're like, you know what? Let's scrap it. But yeah, this is how our match card is looking so far. We got Garrett Grainer in a new stable. Garrett Grainer, Penn Wilson, Masato Miyamoto taking care of Manisa V, Alex White, and a returning Mohammed. He was injured. I think I did mention. I don't know. Did we do a video? I've been so gone. I've lost track of like the videos that I cooked. But yeah, I think you might have noticed, or might have like, if you have been following, or if you have been here quite long enough, there was a time when Mohammed like got injured and was not part of like the fall of the corporate ladder, right? So yeah, he has basically returned to help his previous stable because he has no home to go to. But yeah, he's back. We have Gansman versus Mustafa Vaisi in the finals of the Atlas of the Universe, which is a very interesting setup. I'll get into it as time goes. We have Eric Considine defending the AC Infinite Championship against El Fugo, Channing Serio, Derek DeRossi, and Danatos. This is big meaty man slapping meat and a luchador. And the cruiserweight. So I don't know if he's a cruiserweight. I think he gained some weight. I don't know. But yeah, Spencer Van Zandt. We have Spencer Van Zandt in a triple threat with Mike Mayhew, Davey Geller. This one was quite like a fun one. And a shaky one, if I have to say the least, simply because I wanted to do Spencer Van Zandt versus Mike Mayhew, but yeah, it was either Spencer Van Zandt versus David Geller or Spencer Van Zandt versus Mike Mayhew, but we managed to cook up some things there. We have one of the most craziest tag teams of all time, I guess. Azul Fury teaming up with Colt Brewer versus Brandon Judge and Troy Manning for the tag team titles. And in the main event, we have Josh Watson, our new AC World Champion, versus Koya Tsukuda and Jin Bao. And this is what I mean when I say this is kind of like the craziest main event that we got right here, because if you remember correctly, the whole plan was to run with Koya Tsukuda versus Jin Bao. And now we have Josh Watson in the picture. And not only is he part of the picture, but he's also champion. So very interesting things going on here. So let's get into it. Let's get into the summaries. Garrett Graham, Masato Miyamoto, and Penn Wilson versus the Kings Burning Hands, or the reunited Kings Burning Hands, Alex White, Manu Sevi, and Mohammed, right, in a six-man tag team. So the summary here is quite simple. Garrett Grainer and his doublemates have been going back and forth with Manu Sevi and Alex White. And this is simply because they're trying to get in the world title picture, right? Manu Sevi had a little beef with Alex Wilson, basically chasing the world championship, and Garrett Grainer kind of like got in a mix of that. But Garrett Grainer came with a new stable, right? So Manu Sevi and Alex White had no choice but to basically join forces temporarily to take care of Garrett Grainer. And it was a thing where it's like, okay, cool stuff. They're teaming up together. But against Garrett Grainer, they're losing the numbers game. So Baron Corbin. Is it Baron Corbin? It's not Baron Corbin. Why did I say Baron Corbin out of instinct? Oh, sorry. I'm trying to remember. Who's their manager? I can't find Baron Montag. Did I remove him? What happened to Baron Montag? Yeah, Baron Montag, who is basically Alex White's manager, kind of like pulled the strings. I kind of like pulled the strings for Alex White and Manu Sevi and got Mohammed back in the King's Burning Hands. So yeah, Mohammed is back, but we don't know how back he is. You know, is he back for the stable, or is he back because he wants to be part of the show, or you know, is he back for something else, right? So he's back to help out Manu Sevi and Alex White, and it's kind of like, hey, the King's Burning Hands is back together because remember, the King's Burning Hands at first it was Alex White, Danatos, Mohammed, and Baron Montag. And then we had that split between Mohammed and Danatos. Then it became, from there, started falling apart. Alex White got injured. Alex White was replaced by Manu Sevi. And, you know, Manu Sevi, Mohammed, and Danatos ran a little bit. You know, they ran the King's Burning Hands for a little bit. Then Alex White returned. Then he kicked Manu Sevi out of the group, and it was a mess. And from there, it was like, is this a group or not? What's happening there? You know. And at some point, they tried to recruit Derek DeRossi. We don't know if Derek DeRossi is still part of the group. It's just a mess at this point. At this point, it's kind of like the Don Callis family of AEW. So yeah, we have like a returning King Ben, the what you call the King's Burning Hands, and it's kind of like uncertain of like, you know, where it's going at this point, because clearly it's back together, but it's like no one really wants to be, you know, everyone wants to be a leader actually at this point. You know, Alex White wants to be a leader, Danatos wants to be a leader, Manu Sevi wants to be a leader, Derek Dorsey wants to be a leader, and I'm sure Mohammed is not back just to be the guy, the right-hand man or whatever. He probably has big intentions of being a world champion, you know, some way, some sort. Or probably he's here for revenge. So yeah, that's what's going on there. We have Gunsman versus Mustafa Vaisi. This one is quite simple. Gunsman and Vaisi clash in the finals of the Atlas of the Universe Ultra Tournament. The winner gets a contract that allows them to challenge for the World Championship anytime, any place. They've got 1 year to cash it in, right? So, yeah, Gunsman beat Manu Sevi and David Geller to make it there. Where is it? So yeah, how this is how it looks. Gunsman beat Manu Sevi and David Geller to make it to the finals. Mustafa Vaisi beat El Fugo and Colt Brewer to make it to the finals. And fun fact, these two were a team way back. Way back when Gunsman debuted. I'm trying to remember what year Gunsman debuted. Let's see. Did I write it down? Yeah, 2022 when Gunsman debuted as Aaron Brook. Yeah, he came with a stable called Ringed Rebels, which had Ridden Tashiro, Yogi Balboni, now known as Spike Robinette, Baron Montag, and I forgot who else was in there. Davey Gale, I think, was in there. He came in that stable. That stable was destroyed by the corporate ladder, and yeah, he had a small tag team run with Mustafa Vesi because Mustafa Vesi was known as the tag guy at that moment. It was like pay in one with Mustafa Vesi, you're gonna be good. So yeah, it's kind of like a reunion happening there. I don't think they faced each other before. I didn't write history between superstars, and I'm too lazy to check if they faced each other before. So yeah, I don't think they've really faced each other before. If they did face each other, I don't know how that went. uh, but yeah, we have Eric Considine. Here we have Eric Considine versus Alfiego versus Channing Tenserio versus Derek DeRossi versus Danatos in a six-way for the AC Infinite Championship. The summary here is Eric Considine is booked into a corner against Alfiego, who he has been stopping from winning the Infinity title for weeks. There's also a reignited Channing Tenserio who has found new purpose in the Infinite Championship picture. There's also an angry Danatos looking to crush Tenserio's momentum and get their first singles gold. And there's also Derek DeRossi who looks to turn things around in his second coming. So yeah, here it's quite simple. To put it in simpler terms, Eric Considine and El Fuego have been going back and forth, right? El Fuego has been trying to capture the ASE Infinite Championship, but the closer he gets, he just gets screwed. So lately has been basically screwed by the MVPs, which is this new faction, or the Prestige. I changed it to the Prestige. He has been screwed by the Prestige, Mustafa Vesi and Jordan Porter. He has been screwed by the Prestige, and he's basically he has been chasing Eric Considine, right? He has been chasing Eric Considine, and gets lucky, doesn't get lucky. Gets lucky, doesn't get lucky, gets lucky, doesn't get lucky. So this is kind of like his last chance. Okay, I wouldn't say last chance. This is probably like the only setup where he can't be screwed. Crossing fingers. Right? We have Channing Tenserio, who after the Battle Royal just decided to he just in the Battle Royal he just got lit, right? He came out with how many eliminations did they have? Okay, he didn't have a lot of eliminations. They only had 2 eliminations. But coming out of the Battle Royal, it was like he was brought back to life because he came out swinging. He came out hot. He came out hungry. Beating the NATOs, beating Brandon Judge, beating the NATOs and Brandon Judge, almost beating Derek DeRossi. Couldn't beat him because he was screwed by the NATOs. But there's just been this new fire in him. So he's trying to basically turn that new fire into something, trying to get the AC Infinite Championship, because that title is now known as the title that basically brings people back to life. It has brought Mike Mayhew back to life. It has made Mike Mayhew relevant, and basically pushed Mike Mayhew into the world title picture again. So yeah, the AC Infinite Championship has been seen as that title that elevates you, or basically brings you back to life if you're going through a phase where you feel like you fell off or something like that. So yeah, Channing Tenserio is in that picture chasing the AC Infinite Championship. Derek DeRossi is also trying to make a name for himself because his career has been interesting lately. He's been trying to be relevant. He's picking up some wins here and there, but now it's something really needs to give. Something really needs to give. So yeah, he has been. I think he was feuding with Gunsman. He had a very good feud with Gunsman, and earlier in the year, very good feud with Gunsman, which has been basically keeping him up. But now it's it's time to win something, or to get into a new chapter where everything now it's time to be up. It's time to be at the top. So yeah, he's trying to find himself in the AC Infinite Championship, because I think the previous year, I don't know if it was the previous year, there was a year where he won the national championship, and a month later he lost it. So it's he wants to basically prove to the universe that don't give up on me. Don't give up on me. There's so much more I have to give. So there's that happening. We have the NATOs, who has basically been quite jealous of Channing Tenserio's momentum, if I can say the least. He has been quite jealous of Channing Tenserio's momentum. I think he was the one who got eliminated in the Battle Royale. Let me check. I think he was eliminated by Channing Tenserio. Yes, no? Let's double check. Let's double check. Let's double check. Yeah, that's why he's mad. That's why he's mad. He's mad at Channing Tenserio basically eliminating him from the Battle Royale, and he's quite jealous of how he's been moving. So he's like, you know what? I want to kill Channing Tenserio, and in the process, he gets added into this matchup that we got here. So that's what's happening here. We have Spencer Van Zandt in this one. We have Spencer Van Zandt versus Mike Mayhew versus David Geller, right? It's a double threat match. The unsaid stipulation is winner gets. Whoa. Oh yeah, winner gets to face the new champion or whoever comes out champion in the main event, right? So yeah, the summary is quite simple. Spencer Van Zandt has been trying to turn David Geller into his understudy, offering to help him win the Atlas of the Universe tournament. In the quarterfinals of the Atlas of the Universe tournament, Geller beat Mike Mayhew with the unwanted help of Spencer Van Zandt, and that basically led to Mike Mayhew being upset and costing David Geller in the is it the semifinals? Yeah, the semifinals that we got here. Mike Mayhew was like, you know what? You screwed me. I'm gonna screw you, bro. I'm gonna screw you, bro. I'm gonna screw you. So that's how we got here. And where was I? And yeah, Geller wanted to face Spencer Van Zandt one-on-one, so the message is clear that he doesn't need any help. But Mike Mayhew wants to destroy both of them. So yeah, it's like, you know what? Let's turn this into a triple threat match, right? Might as well, let everyone destroy each other at this point. So yeah, that's what's happening right here. Spencer Van Zandt has been obsessed with turning David Geller into his new project now that the corporate ladder is no more and they can't reunite. And if they reunite, they'll be banned for life or something like that. So yeah, Spencer Van Zandt has been trying to turn David Geller into his new Koetsukura, into his new Jinbao. So yeah, and it has basically been kind of like, getting people's way. It got in Mike Mayhew's way of, or Mike Mayhew's road to the World Championship. So that's what's happening here. Azul and Colt Brewer versus Brendan Judge and Troy Manning. This one is quite simple. For the tag team championship, Troy Manning and Brendan Judge won the number one contenders match or triple threat tag team match against. I'm trying to see where are you. They basically won this match. It was against this team of Cameron Cole and Raiden Tashiro and Jimmy Capano and Spike Robinette. So yeah, they basically won this number one contenders match. And it was kind of like a last minute thing. Troy Manning was like, yo, are you going to best of the best or what? And Brendan Judge was like, you know what? Since I don't have a world championship match, we might as well be present at best of the best. No one wants to miss best of the best. So they decided to team up, and it's kind of like overdue. Because they've had teamed up before, have they? They have, actually. I just don't know how far I am supposed to scroll. But yeah, they teamed up early in the year. Twice, actually. So 3 times, actually. So it was like, yeah, it was just a matter of time. So yeah, that's what's happening right there. Then we have Trush. Sorry. So yeah, then we have Trush Watson defending the world championship against Koetsukuda and Jinbao. And this one is quite long. It is quite long. Sorry about that. So summary, at completion battle royale, Watson came up runner-up and Goizuguda won the entire thing. This meant Goizuguda an opportunity to challenge Jinbao for the world championship at Best of the Best. Um, yeah, this meant Goizuguda earned an opportunity to challenge Jinbao for the world championship at Best of the Best. But before that, Trash Watson gets to face Jinbao at the last pay-per-view before Best of the Best, which is Final Fantasy. So I hope this one is quite clear. Um, we had a battle royale where you got to Kuda. We had a battle royale, and Goizuguda basically won the whole thing, right? Basically won the whole thing. And there's this new rule that has been applied in ASE where like the runner-up has to face the world champion, right? And this is simply because the network that hosts ASE got tired of like the world champion having a clean path to Best of the Best. So they came up with this idea to have whoever comes up runner-up faces the world champion, right? Before Best of the Best. So yeah, this basically led to Tosh Watson being the one who faces Jinbao before Jinbao gets to face Goizuguda. So Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy was the third time Tosh Watson and Jinbao clashed for the World Championship. Watson had failed to beat Jinbao for the title on 2 occasions. Pemberton Dome, which ended via double knockout, and Worst Nightmare ended via DQ from Manisevi. It turned out the third time was really the charm, as Watson beat Jinbao for the title, which meant that he gets to meet Goizuguda at Best of the Best. So, just like how I explained it, we had basically Tosh Watson has been chasing the world championship, right? So, where is it? Where is it? Where are we? Where are we? I'm trying to go back as far as Fight for Glory. We had Fight for Glory, right? Which is basically our elimination chamber where the winner faces the world champion at Pemberton Dome. So, yeah, Josh Watson met Jinbao for the not for the first time, but for the first time for the world championship. Met Jinbao for the world championship, and it ended via double stoppage. Like they cooked so hard that there was no winner, right? And Josh Watson was pushing. At Worst Nightmare, he got to face Jinbao again in an Iron Man match. 60 minutes, they get to go all the way, and ended in the time limit. Did it end in the time limit? Or the time limit was kind of like the I think okay. Oh, okay. Iron Man time limit makes sense. So this match ended because of like the ended because of an interference from Tosh Watson and Manisevi. This is simply because there was kind of like a deal Manisevi made with Spencer Van Zandt, right? Where like it was like, yo, bro, if you help me out, take out Tosh Watson, or like basically Spencer Van Zandt I think made a deal with Manisevi and told him that if like they can get Tosh Watson out the way, he will get a shot at the World Championship. Just some shenanigans going on there. So it ended like that. And the third time they met at Final Fantasy because Watson came out runner-up. So yeah, that's where he finally ended Jinbao's reign, which lasted basically 9 months. Why can't I count? 11 months. So yeah, I ended Jinbao's reign, and this basically changed the road to Best of the Best, right? The result of the main event at Final Fantasy didn't sit well with Goizuguda, as Goizuguda was anticipating his third match with Jinbao, right? Previous occasions being no different from Watson's encounter with Jinbao, basically meaning that Goizuguda was also chasing Jinbao and basically losing due to interferences or whatever shenanigans happening with the corporate ladder. So yeah, Goizuguda challenged Tosh Watson to defend his championship against him and Jinbao, right? or face Jin Bao before Best of the Best so that he can win his title back, so that Jin Bao can win his title back. So yeah, Go Guda really wanted to face Jin Bao so bad that he gave Thrush Watson two options: to defend the title against him and Jin Bao at Best of the Best, or to have Thrush Watson defend the title before Best of the Best against Jin Bao, so that the Best of the Best remains Jin Bao versus Go Guda. So Watson, having had back-to-back tag team matches against Go Guda heading to the pay-per-view, he saw that facing Jin Bao will basically exhaust him and make it easier for Tsukuda to dethrone him. So he was like, you know what? I'd rather defend my world championship against you two with Best of the Best, because there's no way I'm gonna face Jin Bao exhausted. So you can have your dream match. Fuck that. So yeah, that's what's basically happening there. History between stars. Go Tsukuda versus Jin Bao. The current setup is 2-1, right? Final Fantasy, Tsukuda beat Jin Bao. When they clashed for the first time, Tsukuda beat Jin Bao. At Ascension earlier this year, Jin Bao beat Tsukuda, assisted by, with the help of Azure Furia. At Fight for Glory, Jin Bao beat Go Tsukuda in a cage match via cage escape, right? History between Thrush Watson versus Jin Bao. It's currently 3-3, with one match being a draw. October 2024, Watson beat Jin Bao. November 2024, Jin Bao beat Watson. Final Fantasy 2024, which was then Indemnity, Jin Bao beat Watson to retain the Cruiserweight title. They basically, I think they had a small feud going on there. December 2024, Jin Bao beat Watson. So I think was it a tie? Not yet. March 2025, Watson beat Jin Bao. That's when it was a tie. Pemberton Dome, which was recent, which ended via double knockout. That's when, they tied. Worst Nightmare 2027, Jin Bao beats Watson via DQ, thanks to Manny Sevi. Final Fantasy 2027, Watson beat Jin Bao. So yeah, that's how crazy this is. And another thing is, okay, there's relationships, which I was about to talk about. So yeah, Go Guda and Thrush Watson have never had a one-on-one match ever, which is kind of like a huge detail to bring out, because these are basically ASE's golden boys. So for them not to have touched each other one-on-one kind of like makes sense. So the relationships here are going on as Go Guda has always respected Jin Bao. He didn't like the fact that Spencer Vazan turned him into his next project after Tsukuda cut ties with him. Right? He doesn't basically like how Go Tsukuda has always respected Jin Bao. He doesn't like how Spencer Vazan was willing to make Jin Bao the next Go Tsukuda. So yeah, he really didn't like that. This is why Tsukuda was so committed in helping Azure Furia destroy the corporate ladder from within for good after 5 long years of dominance. So yeah, another relationship here. Thrush Watson grew closer to Jin Bao a year after he debuted, and this was after Spencer Van tried to recruit Watson, and Jin Bao told him to leave him alone. So yeah, this is kind of like another detail that I'd like to bring. I'm not sure how many times I've brought this up. Probably I've brought it up in the beginning, in the early days of this channel. But there was a time where Thrush Watson debuted, and Spencer Vazan thought it was a good idea to have him in the faction with Jin Bao, right? Or add him in the faction with Jin Bao. But Jin Bao was like, no, let's not add him. Leave him alone. Please leave. You can bother anyone else. But please leave Thrush Watson alone. So that's how they basically grew together. So yeah, they saw each other as wrestling soulmates and decided to work side by side after 2025. So yeah, basically after you see those back and forth matches that they had in 2024, that's when they basically like saw each other as wrestling soulmates. And they, like after 2024, that's when they decided to basically work side by side. Like if there was a tag team match going on or war games match going on, or yeah, any sort of like tag team matches going on, Jinbao would call Tosh Watson, or Tosh Watson would call Jinbao. So yeah, Watson always showed up for Jinbao in War Games matches. Made sure that he showed up for him. So that is the relationship that they got here. So yeah, let's get into the result. And here are the results. And we got a 99, thankfully, because I was scared Masato Miyamoto was gonna bring down the ratings. But I'm not gonna pretend. Sorry, but I'm not gonna pretend as if like Masato Miyamoto has not. He's not like a superstar that guarantees like good ratings, because I changed my what is that, those settings where like you basically change like the audience and whatnot. I changed that thingy to the audience basically caring about in ring, and with Masato Miyamoto it has basically been like, it depends on who you put him in the ring with, to get like good ratings. So I put him against the best with the best, and we got a 99. So yeah, it's looking good. Important for storyline. Garrett Grainer finally gets some momentum with his newly formed stable, gets him closer to the world championship. So yeah, that's basically it. Garrett Grainer built this stable so that he could get closer to the world championship and can basically like, yeah, speed things up, right? You know, um, he has Masato Miyamoto and Penn Wilson as his shield, because yeah, the world title scene is chaotic these days, and if you don't have backup, you are screwed basically. So yeah, that's why he built this stable. So him picking up a win is very monumental, um, because the last couple of matches he has been taking a loss, and it's like, bro, you came back with a stable and you guys are losing. What are we supposed to be scared of, y'all? So yeah, it has basically been that. But yeah, now this win is kind of like a big win where it's like, okay, cool stuff. Now we serious. Now getting into business. And yeah, one of the reasons he built this stable was to get close to the world championship and also elevate Masato Miyamoto and Penn Wilson. This was also actually like kind of like a last minute thingy, because I really wanted Garrett Grader to be in a faction, but it was like, what are we gonna do though? What are we inserting him in an existing faction, or are we gonna build a faction around him? And who has to benefit again? Who has to benefit right there? I even thought about like adding Raiden Tashiro in there. I thought about a lot of people in setting this up, but then there's like, what, Masato Miyamoto and Penn Wilson have been teaming up, and they're two superstars that have been trying to find themselves, as they're kind of like lost in a shuffle. So yeah, it works. It kind of like works, and it has been working. Masato Miyamoto kind of like teased the match with Kazukuda. Penn Wilson being next to Garrett Green kind of like does a lot to him, because Penn Wilson hasn't necessarily found his identity. He has been known as the Spencer Van Zandt student who, yeah, the Spencer Van Zandt students. That's all he is. So him being next to Grant is kind of like gives him like a new identity, and I really hope it changes. Changes him and makes me consider him whenever like I set up like um, the world title scene. You know, going into 2028. So yeah, that's what's going on there. The King's Burning Hands takes a loss, and it's like, oh well, they're supposed to take a loss because they are reunited, but then there's some, there's a little bit of egos here and there going on there. Everyone wants to be a leader, so they're taking a loss in this one. And I did mention that Mohammed is back, but we don't know what he's back for. I will tell you what he's back for. He's back to get some singles gold. So yeah, he's not basically back to be like tag team champion or whatever. He's back to get some singles gold, hoping to change his life with the ASE Infinite Championship. So since the Infinite Championship has been set up as this title that basically, gives you like a rebirth. So that's what's happening here. Another 99. Matches that I doubted are giving me 99. I think we might be sitting on 99 pay-per-view, guys. Gunsman versus Mustafa Vaisi, Atlas of the Universe Ultra Finals. Mustafa Vaisi picks up a win. He wins a contract that he can cash in at any time, any place. He can cash in for a world championship anytime, any place, which is definitely needed because honestly speaking, Mustafa Vaisi, when I started this save, has been put up as the face of ASE. And yeah, one of the biggest fails. I'm so sorry to put it that way. He has been a failure for quite some time. He has had a kind of like very proper career, great career if you ask me. But then in terms of like him living up to being a future world champion, it has been quite shaky. I even added it under important for storyline. Mustafa Vase has always been seen as a future world champion, but somehow failed to prove it when it mattered most. Like, yeah, he was really promising world champion, and in time past, it was like, you know what, you make a good, national champion. You make a good tag team champion. You can never be world champion. You are always needed in the tag team division or needed in the mid card. I don't want to use the term mid card in this setup because it makes it feel like it's just like some small thing. But then it is like you are good in the mid card, right? But I can say mid card because the mid card doesn't exist anymore. I feel like the AC Infinite Championship has properly been launched as the second world championship. So I can say mid card. Yeah, people have been saying that Mustafa Facey is a good mid carder. He's a good tag team champion. He will never be world champion. And yeah, I mean, Jin Bao became world champion before him. Thresh Watson became world champion before him. Davey Geller is about to become world champion before him. Mike Mayu became world champion before him. A lot of people, most of his peers have passed him. So it's like, yeah, he's not going to be world champion. But he finally wins the contract that can change his life forever. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at Mustafa Vaisi, yeah, we just don't know how it's going to go. Because the world championship scene, I think I did mention that it has kind of like changed now that the corporate ladder has broken up. Like there's just a lot of people in there. There's Mike Mayhew, there's Davey Geller, there's Spencer Van Zandt, there's Troy Manning. But Troy Manning and Brennan Judge have recently won the tag team champions. Well, spoiler! But yeah, it has like Troy Manning, it has a lot of people in there. Garrett Grainer, it has Manu Sevi, it has Alex White. So it's kind of like messy. So we're looking at a Mustafa Vaisi World Championship run, but it's kind of like win though. Is he gonna be world? Is he still gonna be? He can win the contract, but is he gonna be world champion? So that's what's happening there. Eric Constantine, El Fugo versus Channing Sergio and Derek DeRosie and Donatos. Constantine defends successfully, and this one is pretty much simple. I feel like his reign, I'm speaking as a booker now. I feel like his reign just recently started and it's too early for him to drop the title. But now, not speaking as a booker, Eric Considine needed like a revival, I did mention that the AC Infinite Championship is the title that basically gives people like a rebirth. So Eric Considine hasn't won a world championship since this. Yeah, it hasn't won a world championship in quite a long time. Since Adam Sawyer and Spencer Van Zandt took over or became part of the board in this new era, or what I call the new era. This new era or this future era or whatever era, this era as a whole, the 20s, basically. Yeah, Eric Considine hasn't won a world championship since the 20s started. So it's like, yeah, he's that guy. I mean, Eric Considine is that guy. But then it's like, Eric Considine was that guy. So it's kind of like, yeah, he needs to prove to people why he held I think he's an 8-time world champion. So he needs to prove to people why he's an 8-time world champion. And again, the AC Infinite title is kind of like a second world title. So yeah, he's treating it like how Mike Mayu treated it. He's like, this is the main title. This is the title that people should be chasing. This is the title that proves that you were the guy. And him defending it against 5 people means a lot. I think this is the first time it is defended against so many people. So yeah, that's what's happening here. The triple threat match, did well. Everyone gave their all, and David Guetta is not like the best performer in this trio, but he gave it all, dog. It gave it all. So important for storyline. Spencer Van Zandt is still spearheading into making David Guetta a star. He knows how important this match is and wants to use it to pull Guetta in the water picture. So I didn't mention the finishes in these things, but it's not like it matters. But this one matters. Spencer Van Zandt sacrifices himself by kneeling on the floor after hitting Mike Mayhew with a rolling reverse DDT. David Geller takes advantage and hits a G trigger, which is basically a V trigger. So yeah, Spencer Van Zandt basically, sacrifices himself like Seth Rollins did at Survivor Series that one time, and yeah, David Geller takes advantage, and this is basically Spencer Van Zandt being like, "Look, I'm gonna make you a star, whether you like it or not. So yeah, take this win and go." Take this win and go. I did say that the unsaid stipulation for this match is the winner faces the world champion next month. So David Geller gets a world championship opportunity just like that, because Spencer Van Zandt is like, look, you have everything to be the guy. I'm gonna make you the guy. But at the same time, this storyline. Okay, now I'm speaking as a person who's writing all of this. This storyline is kind of like a bit repetitive. I feel like this setup is kind of like repetitive, simply because remember Mustafa Face was supposed to be the face at one time, and that failed. And Spencer Van Zandt made sure that Gotsugura was the face of ASE one time, and that succeeded. But Gotsugura kind of like betrayed Spencer Van Zandt, and Spencer Van Zandt made sure to make Jinbao the face of ASE, and Jinbao became the face of ASE. Now he's basically trying to make David Geller the face of ASE. It's kind of like repetitive and kind of like selfish of Spencer Van Zandt. But I need you to hear me out, right? I need you to hear me out. I feel like this could lead to Spencer Van Zandt discovering that he doesn't necessarily need to help other people. Like, helping people doesn't really help him. At first it did. Way back when he was, the brothers in arms, whatever. But this time it does not. Like, what we see, like what happened with the corporate ladder. Jinbao doesn't need him anymore. So David Geller certainly doesn't need him. So I feel like this could be kind of like a cool story where like Spencer Van Zandt realizes that he has been helping people a lot and he needs to lock in and get shit for himself, because he's a 6-time world champion, I think, or 5-time. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I've been gone for so long. So yeah. The tag team championships. So yeah, Azulfira and Cold Blood is giving us 100. Obviously a banger. I love how I positioned this, because yeah, sometimes I do regret the positioning of these matches. But yeah, Brennan Judge, Troy Manning win the tag team titles. Win the tag team titles. Important for storyline. Brennan Judge and Troy Manning have had a few tag teams throughout the year. That the AC universe thinks they are overdue a tag team run. This becomes like the first time we see Brennan Judge win a title other than the World Championship in his career. The fans anticipate this to be a run as big as Muhammad and Danatos. So yeah, Brennan Judge and Troy Manning finally win the tag team the titles, and it's kind of like, this is overdue. Like, they need to be tag team champions just for chaos sake, So there are tag team champions now, and people are anticipating it to be like as big as the title reign Danatos and Muhammad had, where I think they won the titles like 6 times or 7 times. Yeah, they won the tag team titles like 7 times. They were on a dominant run early in the 20s. So yeah, it's like, yeah, we want this to be like a kind of like a change, like the landscape, the change of like landscape in the tag team title scene, because the tag team title scene has been seen as, ever since like Gotsugura and Mustafa Vesi dropped the titles, it has been kind of like, no, I'm lying, ever since Spike Robinett and Tash Watson dropped the tag team titles, it has been like nothing is interesting happening in the tag team titles picture. So now that Brennan Judge and Troy Manning are tag team champions, it's like, okay, now we are up for some chaos, and it's gonna be chaos because I mean these are like basically part of like Mount Rushmore when it comes to AC hybrid, you know. So yeah, the main event, Koya Tsukuda picks up the win. I didn't know where to finish for this one, but then just imagine the craziest match you'll ever seen that's gonna probably like get 10 stars. And there's a lot to talk about in this match, guys. Oh man. But yeah, best of the best main event, Gotsugura, Tosh Watson, Gotsugura, and Jinbao. Ends with Jinbao coming out on top, being a 3-time world champion, which is overdue. We've been talking about the third title win, or Jinbao, Gotsugura's third title win, like we're talking about the second coming of the Messiah. So it's finally here, and it's like, finally, finally, finally. Because Kwatsukuda has been doing a lot of side mission, guys. Like, if you've been here long enough, you remember, like, he has been feuding with basically each and everyone in the roster, bro. And it's finally time that he got the world championship, and it's finally time that he's back on top. So it's kind of like, phew, we are back here, guys. We are back here. And this match was not supposed to happen. Yeah, this match was not supposed to happen first, guys, simply because the main talk was, okay, I'm going to tell you the reason why this match happened. It happened because Tosh Watson, Koitsugura, and Jinbao are basically the faces of the future. They're basically the faces of the future. Koitsugura has been obviously like the first one. Jinbao was like the second one. And Jinbao was not necessarily like kind of like AC's pick. Jinbao was Spencer Van Zandt's pick to be the face of the future. And Spencer Van Zandt made sure he becomes like the face of the future. He made sure. You can even look at the fans. Look at the fans. He made sure that he becomes the face of the future. Tosh Watson was basically AC's golden boy, right? So it was like he's also the future. So this kind of like marks an era. This match marks the era that we're in right now, right? Like the world is gonna revolve around these three superstars. This is kind of like the shield right now. You understand? The future is gonna revolve around these three stars, and they've got a lot to give in the coming years, right? It was not supposed to happen. This match was not supposed to happen, but it had to happen because we wanted to give best of the best the meaning, right? We wanted, because like the last couple of years, best of the best was like Troy Manning, Spencer Van Zandt, and I think that it kind of was like clear when it came to AC trying to push the agenda of Tosh Watson and Spencer Van Zandt are like the faces of the early 20s, right? So yeah, this is kind of like another agenda that we're pushing, that Tosh Watson, God to good at Jinbao are like the face of the future. So yeah, we basically wanted best of the best to be like the best faces, clashing. So it was not supposed to happen. Initially, it was supposed to be Gotsugura versus Jinbao. This was supposed to be simply Gotsugura versus Jinbao at best of the best. They were supposed to face each other 3 times this year, by the way. So they're supposed to face each other 3 times this year. They're supposed to face at Ascension, supposed to face at Fight for Glory. Then that match was supposed to happen at Best of the Past, right? But here's the chat. Heading to completion and the battle royal, right? We kind of like accidentally booked ourselves into a corner, right? And before I even get into that, can we just get into this angle, right? I want to show you something. So the event ends with Jin Bao shaking Gotoguda's hand. Important for storyline, Jin Bao gives Gotoguda a handshake, paying him respect and hinting at him disappearing for quite some time after Dominantia. So I told you, working on a 99, yeah, which is good, which is good. I love that for me. I love that for me. So I love that for myself. So yeah, I was saying we kind of like booked ourselves into a corner. So the whole plan was to have Gotoguda versus Jin Bao face each other 3 times, right? And we kind of like booked ourselves into a corner. At Final Fantasy. Where the champion at Final Fantasy where the champion faces the runner-up of the completion battle royal, right? We were supposed to have Jin Bao versus Troy Manning. We're supposed to have Jin Bao versus Troy Manning. Reason being, we wanted to do this callback. We wanted to have Josh Watson was not supposed to be the runner-up of the completion battle royal. It was not supposed to be runner-up, but we're in the heat of the moment, and we said, you know what? Let's have Josh Watson be runner-up so we can basically tease this match. There's a lot that happened, guys. So yeah, it was supposed to be Troy Manning. The final 2 were supposed to be Troy Manning and Gotoguda, so that Jin Bao can face Troy Manning in Final Fantasy before heading to Best of the Best. And basically, we do that callback where Jin Bao faced Troy Manning in 2026. Right? We wanted to do that callback. But we're in the heat of a moment that we were like, you know what, let's have Josh Watson eliminate Troy Manning. And let's have like the final 2 be Josh Watson and Gotoguda. So we can basically tease a future Best of the Best main event. Right? Like the clash of the faces of ASE, the Golden Boy versus the Golden Boy. It was like, let's have that final face-off. Forgetting that the runner-up of the completion battle royal has to face Jin Bao for the world title. Right? Forgetting. At first, it was no problem, right? Remember, like the initial plan was to have Troy Manning versus Jin Bao, and we kind of like in the heat of the moment, Josh Watson won, and we had Josh Watson versus Jin Bao. That was no problem. The problem was Josh Watson had already faced Jin Bao twice before this match. At Pemberton Dome and at Worst Nightmare. So now they're clashing for the 3rd time, and it's like, we can't afford to have Josh Watson lose against Jin Bao for the 3rd time. Reason being, Jin Bao and Josh Watson was supposed to happen late in 2028, somewhere down the line. And in that match, Josh Watson was supposed to beat Jin Bao. So this 3rd match, this match that you're seeing here at Final Fantasy was not supposed to happen until 2028, later down the line, when probably Josh Watson is champion or when Jin Bao is champion again. But it was not supposed to happen until then. But we booked ourselves into a corner. We booked it too early. A year too early. And it was like, Josh Watson has lost against Jin Bao 2 times. If he loses for the 3rd time, the momentum that we built, the rocket that we put behind it, it's gonna be over. It's gonna be over for him. Because Josh Watson has to be the most protected superstar in 2027. Am I lying? Let me check if I'm lying. But he has to be like the most protected. You see, the most protected superstar we got this year. Protected, big boss. Big boss. Protected. Most protected superstar in 2027. So it was like, we can't have Trish Watson lose against Jin Bao for the third time. Because all this momentum that we've built, it will basically take us back. Because remember, there was a time where Trish Watson debuted. Like if you go to my early episodes, he even like won the cruiserweight championship and the national championship at the same time. Like he was given all these titles, right? And it felt like he was forced into people's throats, and that's where basically, you know, people didn't get behind him like that. It was like, yeah, we don't like it felt like we're forcing him into people in people's throats, right? And it basically sent him back. He was basically going through what Jin Bao went through in his early years before he met Spencer Van Zandt. Because there was a time where Jin Bao was winning the cruiserweight title, but it was like, you know, he was just there. He was kind of like lost in the shuffle, right? He had no purpose. So Trish Watson was basically going through that phase where he was like, he was winning titles, but it was not clicking. It was not clicking. So his momentum got crushed one time, and he basically had to reset because there was nothing happening. He was just like lost. He was like in no man's land. They call it the no man's land. So yeah, Trish Watson was in no man's land to a point where we had to create the defiance. We had to create the defiance in 2026. And that's when things started picking up for him. That's when it was like, yeah, things are picking up. It's like the agenda became clear. Trish Watson is the face of ASE. He's gonna become the face of ASE. So it was it was that setup where it's like, if he loses against Jin Bao, we will have to basically start all over again. We will have to start all over again. And it's going to be a thing where, like, if we do start over, no one will have interest in seeing Trish Watson in the title picture again. It's going to feel like the timing is going to be off, or like the train is going to pass him by. Or it's going to pass by. Like, it's just going to miss, like, the opportunity to become the face of ASE, because there's just a lot happening. David Geller is in the scene. Mike May is in the scene. You know, Mustafa Vase is in the scene. He's going to miss the bus. He's definitely gonna miss the bus. So it was like, you can't have Trish Watson lose, guys. You can't have Trish Watson lose. So let's have him win the world title. And we did. And it was like, now we're gonna have Trish Watson versus Gotsukura for the title. Right? Which is a far more interesting setup, if you ask me. But at the same time, it's like, it's gonna be too soon. Too soon in the sense of like, I really want Trish Watson and Gotsukura to have a perfect build when they finally face each other one-on-one. So it was like, it's gonna be too soon. So how can we basically keep Jin Bao versus Gotsukura but have Trish Watson in the picture? Then the idea for triple threat match came in, right? And it basically came in at the wrong time, but then I felt like it fit, because the reason I really wanted Gotsukura versus Jin Bao in the first place, I really wanted it to basically continue the rivalry between Jin Bao and Gotsukura, where it's like Jin Bao can't beat Gotsukura clean, right? I wanted to build that up. I really wanted Jin Bao to lose to Gotsukura again, and work towards beating Gotsukura clean for the first time ever. Right? So it was like, I really wanted that, but at the same time, it's like, the fans have already seen Gotsukura versus Jin Bao 3 times. Is it 3 times? Yeah, they've basically seen it 3 times. They've seen it in the 2024 match. I hope it is the 2024 match, right? Or 2025. Now I have to go back. Yeah, they basically saw it in the 2025 match, Final Fantasy. They saw it at Ascension 2027. They saw it at Fight for Glory. So it's like, The fans have seen Gotokuda versus Jinbao 3 times. And it's like, at this point, if it does happen, it's gonna happen and it's gonna be a classic, but it's gonna be like, yay, you know, Gotokuda beat Jinbao, and we're gonna work towards Jinbao beating Gotokuda down the line, and it's just gonna be like, hey, it's happening. When are we getting to the end? When are we getting to Jinbao finally beating Gotokuda? It was gonna get there, and we didn't want to basically exhaust the fans with Gotokuda versus Jinbao 100 times. So it was like, you know what? The match that we wanted for Best of the Best 2027, let's push it far, far, far back. Let's have Jinbao and Gotokuda far away from each other for now. And when it finally happens, it's gonna mean something. Maybe this time around it's gonna happen with obviously Jinbao having more to fight for, right? Wanting to fight for wanting to win the world championship, or having to win the world championship from Gotokuda. Because I will tell you this: if Jinbao, if we had Jinbao and Gotokuda right now, Jinbao was we're gonna say Jinbao lost because he got tired of holding the world championship for a year. We're simply gonna say that. So let's have it at a later stage where Jinbao is much hungry to be a world champion again. Once his title, his second reign, and he's gonna face Gotokuda as a renewed man. As a renewed man over the corporate ladder. Already taking care of his demons or whatever. So that's what's happening here. So this match is everything that it screams AC right now. It screams AC right now. And I couldn't have wrote it any better, if you ask me. I couldn't have wrote it any better. I'm glad that this is happening. So going forward, we're looking at David Geller versus Gotokuda for the World Championship. Jinbao might disappear, but I have quite an interesting story for him with Spencer Van Zandt, where Spencer Van Zandt finally confronts him and asks him what did it all go wrong? Let's see where would you matches? Yeah, 2028 pictures. Yeah, Spencer Van Zandt versus Jinbao 8. Dissension 8. Gotokuda versus Thrash Watson. Dissension 8. Is that what I planned? Oh, okay. Thank God that I wrote this down. Actually, thank God that I wrote this down, because I was thinking Gotokuda versus Mr. ASE. That could be a match right there. But Gotokuda versus this Dissension 8 would rock for days, bro. I think that would be like the perfect time to have our face of AC versus the face of AC at the biggest event, Dissension. Dissension is not necessarily like, I feel like Best of the Best has become the biggest event of AC, but Dissension kind of like is holding its own right now. So that's what's happening right there. I don't know if you have any plans. Jinbao versus, okay, we finished most of these. Mike Mei versus Jinbao for the title 2028. We might have to scrap that, big boss. But yeah, we are basically done with the year 2027, and let's go to our PWA say.